Hi, this is Michael Waits, and welcome back to Insurance for the New Possible, a Chubb conversation. Today, we are joined by Aditya Soni, the founder and CEO of CheQ, and Arijit Chakraborty, SVP at Chubb Global Digital Team. Before we get into the main part of this conversation, let's get a little bit of both of your backgrounds for some context. Aditya, let's start with you.
Sure. Hey, hi. How are you guys doing?
Super duper.
That's a quick introduction. I come from India, born and brought up in a mild joint family of 50 people living together. So understanding the value of, compromises, understanding the value of how you drive people together was just, I didn't have to go to school to learn it, correct?
Got it.
That was just one of the first learning that I realized when I grew older, that's what a joint family teaches you. Started playing professional chess at the age of 6.5. That's how old my daughter is today. Was a professional chess player for 14, 15 years. Represented India for like 4-5 years. And then sort of...
So at the national level, externally.
Correct.
Go ahead.
And then at the age of 21, at the age of 18, 19, and 2021, that's when I decided that, maybe in that era, 2002, 2003, chess was not as big as what it is today in India. So left it to join the corporate life. Did my MBA. These are some things that you always regret in life. This is just one of those. Joined an MBA college. There, finished it. Joined City Bank from campus. I was there for 8 years, just doing a lot of payments and card stuff. Fell in love with that industry. 2014, then Flipkart happened. Flipkart is largest e-commerce company in India. And spent another 8 years there. An absolutely crazy journey. Imagine moving from a 250-year-old company to a company which is 6 years old. But absolutely fascinating learnings. Just doing crazy stuff there. And just a couple of years before, quit everything to start CheQ. It's been now 2.5 years that we've been trying to build the company. 1.5 years since the product has been live, and couldn't ask for anything better.
I love it. Arijit?
Yeah, hi, Michael. Great to be back here.
Great to see you again.
For me, I'm actually a lawyer by education and background. So how I started off as a Supreme Court lawyer, as litigated to what I'm doing is a big change.
It's a huge leap
from there.
Right.
Yeah. So as I said, I came here to Singapore from India about 18 years back now. Did my Masters of Law from NUS and was working for Temasek Holdings, which is a sovereign wealth fund here. I was the only foreign M&A lawyer with them at that point of time. And then accidentally insurance happened. I think no one, apart from actuaries, no one chooses to be in the industry, just happens to be there. So I went in as a general counsel, heading legal and compliance, and then eventually moved to business. Was in senior management with Zurich and Manulife, looking up from Singapore, looking out of Southeast Asia. And then got an opportunity of leaving my corporate role, starting my own consulting firm, and ended up building 2 insurtech businesses. So I was a founding member for Igloo, which is a Southeast Asia-based insurtech, and then got an opportunity of bringing another global insurtech called Cover Genius to Asia. So I was a founding member and MD for Asia and MENA of CG quite recently. And got an opportunity recently to join Chubb as a part of the global digital team as an SVP for this position.
This is going to be an incredible conversation between two people with incredible experience. I want to ask you a question about chess, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
Do you think that all that chess playing kind of set you up? Like, you must still use those skills, right? The chess skills, the way you think about playing chess when you're looking at all of the financial world in India, not, starting with Citi, moving into Flipkart, and then building CheQ. You must think about this a lot, no?
I've been asked this question a lot.
I'm sure.
And what I've realized is that when you pick up something so young,
Right.
it becomes your second nature.
It's just part of you.
It's just part
It's like a
of it,
language,
correct?
right?
So the concept of thinking through things,
Right.
your ability to visualize what will happen in the future,
Next, yeah.
and the fact that it's the perfect example of art of war, correct?
Yeah.
So it's not only about what you do, but your ability of to understand what the other person is going to do. These are just things that comes to you naturally.
Right.
Chess is also a game where draw is a very respected result.
It's a possible thing, and no one. Yeah. It's
It's a very respected result, correct?
Right.
It's unlike tennis,
right.
or
right.
some of the sports.
There's no
where-
tiebreaker. You just.
So, and I think that just lens teaches you that sometimes there can be two rights. It's not important to always live in binary of 0 and 1.
Right.
And I think that those are just things that you start appreciating that just comes to you naturally. So I don't think about it. It's just very much a part of me. And that's just how you operate.
Okay. Let's jump into this thing. Talk to us about the state or the status of embedded finance and insurance in India.
Let's just break this into two parts, correct? Let's
Please.
just try and talk about embedded finance, and then we'll go to embedded insurance.
Please.
Arijit is obviously a master of it, but embedded finance started becoming big in India, or started becoming relevant in India, close to 7-8 years before.
Okay.
Where the regulator allowed a lot of digitization of the fundamental process of onboarding consumers into the world of finance.
Got it.
Okay, that was prior to that. It was a very heavy touch process. You would at least meet the consumer a couple of times.
Very high touch, right?
Very, very high touch point, and you will meet the consumer at least a couple of times. And that's just the way it was designed. Okay, so the regulator first allowed us to migrate some of the processes to completely digital platforms. That was the tipping point. So origination, what you call as origination of consumers, finance, into the world of finance started happening digitally.
Yeah.
That was the first layer. The second layer of embedded finance happening in managing them, in terms of that you can now continue to do more things apart from just onboarding the consumer into the world of finance, also digitally. And third is how do you allow them to leverage finance more also digitally. So there are three fronts. I have this typical philosophy of what I call as UML.
Okay.
I sort of, this is understanding, management, and leverage. I believe every consumer in the world of credit goes into these three stages, where he or she first comes into stage one, gets access to one financial product, is trying to understand the world, still very scared about what can happen with me. Will I be charged something that I'm not aware of?
Can I afford this?
Can I afford this? What will happen to my bureau? Because my understanding is also very, very weak about bureau. Then you move into the world of management, where you've seen that the first product doing well. In India, for a lot of consumers, that first product is an education loan.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So then you see, because your father or your mother is somebody who's covering for you, but you keep on seeing that that instrument paying off. Then you move into the world of management, where you start taking another product. Okay, you might take a credit card, or you might take a pay later, or stuff like that. And third is what I believe is what you call as when you move into the world of leverage.
Leverage, right.
Okay, where you start feeling so confident about credit or finance that you become a credit pro.
Right.
Then you're not scared about with finance, but you're now working with finance to make your life better.
Right.
So I call it the human model.
I like it.
The embedded financing today has now entered into all these three stages. Interestingly, in India, only 15% of consumers who are part of the world of credit are into the leverage mode.
Only 15%.
So there are 500 million people in India who have taken consumer credit at some point.
At some point, right.
200 million consumers who have active credit in India, and only 30 million of them are in the world of leverage where they feel confident about credit.
Right.
So the opportunity for everyone
It's
forget
massive.
digital, online,
It's just massive.
offline, it's just absolutely massive.
Right.
And I think that's what embedded financing is doing now.
Got it.
Trying to enter into each stage and creating beautiful products, hand-holding customers digitally to take them into from one step to other.
From U to M to L.
Correct.
I like it. So let's do this. You want to talk about embedded insurance in India? Just the
Yeah,
status
sure,
and the
sure.
state of it, and
I
maybe
mean-
a little bit of like its progression.
Correct. So I think what Aditya mentioned, that kind of shows the landscape of India, like having a leverage of, you mentioned like 15 million people having the leverage.
30 million.
30 million.
15%. Yeah.
It's also a staggering number, right?
Correct.
Compared to the rest of the world in terms of people who are getting comfortable with
Right, low
credit.
percentage, but it's still a big number.
Yeah, it's
number.
a big
Go
number.
ahead, yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
big number. Because you're talking about leveraging credit. That's
Right.
different from, but like people taking credit to advantage rather
Yeah.
than just, handling credit that way. So insurance to me, like if I can give a perspective, because I've covered roles which is APAC and MENA in overall Asia or the globally, I feel India is way ahead in terms of embedded insurance compared to a lot of markets in Southeast Asia and
Fair
North
enough.
Asia
Yeah.
combined. And not only the insurtechs who are kind of getting into the embedded space. In most of the cases, when I was building other insurtechs, our competitors was another competitive insurtech.
Right.
But in India, your competition is actually the tier one underwriters who also have their API and everything backed in their products, right? So, which shows that digitally, from an underwriting perspective, it is one notch higher than rest of the parts in Asia.
Interesting. Yeah.
From capability point of view. Now, on embedded insurance point of view, there has been, especially in the last 6-7 years, there has been a lot of growth in that space. Most distribution partners, whether you're a FinTech, OTA, e-commerce, I don't know anyone who do not have embedded insurance as an alternate revenue channel for them, an alternate consumer sort of product which they are providing to their end consumers. So everyone have kind of a solution on that embedded piece, which is way more than what other players are doing across other geographies.
Yeah.
And what we are seeing, whether you are a OTA selling travel insurance, people are coming with various variants of travel, right? It's not really a comprehensive travel product. They're coming up with a refund policy or just a flight inconvenience or a parametric driven product like a flight delay. So there are a lot of variants which have also been introduced in the market. And similar to whether you're an e-commerce, you are a Flipkart guy, so like how much sort of gadget to cyber to bite-sized health. A lot of products have been introduced in that platform, and people bought them product. I mean, during COVID times, I remember Flipkart, even though it's an e-commerce, sold COVID insurance in millions, or through the platform, which shows not only the interest for distribution partners to sell these policies, but consumers to be open to buy an insurance product or a solution from platforms which doesn't cater to insurance as a core business.
As a core business, right?
So that's where that affinity is growing in India.
Can I ask you this? And this is kind of for both of you, but this idea of UML, right? I actually really like it. Now it's made me start to think differently about a bunch of other things, right? I understand it. I need to manage that thing I understand. Oh, wait a second. Now there's an opportunity for me here. I can leverage it, right? Are you seeing the same thing in the insurance space, right? Where the COVID insurance may be a perfect example of, I'm buying something on Flipkart. I'm afraid of getting COVID. My sister had it or whatever. I understand that. I'm going to buy a simple product. And then maybe I buy one other thing because maybe it's embedded in the experience in Flipkart. So I buy an electronic device and I'm like, I need to cover that. So now I'm managing it. But there are also ways to leverage it too. Are you seeing that same progress or same progression?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, see, COVID insurance and Flipkart is not contextual at all.
No, at all.
Right?
At all.
So why people are buying it? Because there is an affinity to the brand.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Okay,
they trust it, hopefully.
Correct.
Right?
And how embedded insurance and finance works. whoever works at the background, like we put in a lot of effort bringing a product to life through, suppose if we are doing in future with CheQ, but people will come to CheQ platform to buy the product thinking it's a CheQ product.
Right, for sure.
Right, even though it's underwritten by Chubb or any other XYZ underwriters.
Right.
Similarly with Flipkart, when people are buying that, they think they're buying from that particular brand. So there is a brand affinity which gets associated with that particular product. Now, talking about leverage, what I'm also seeing is there are a lot of use cases where insurance is used as a marketing tool, right? So, for example, you are doing, I was working with a partner where you are doing remittance for blue collar workers. And what we are embedding is a complimentary personal accident plan. With that remittance, for every remittance, you get a $5,000 personal accident. So, and they were marketing it that you remit your money through that, you or your family members are covered. So it's a NAC product, which we call no additional cost to the consumer. And it comes maybe a small amount from the budget, marketing budget of that distribution partner.
Yep.
But imagine not only earning top line revenue out of this insurance proposition, what you're doing is using insurance as a marketing tool for business development of your business. So which is leveraging as well.
Which means now that any business, no matter what business it is, as long as you can find a place in the value chain to embed it,
Correct.
can benefit from this because that money is already getting spent. Sorry, go ahead.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
We've seen obviously platforms like Flipkart or any other platform obviously been able to sell a lot of embedded insurance products, correct? And we've seen millions of policies being sold. Or let's say an OTA trying to sell sometimes. How does so two questions on this. One, if the act for which the insurance or the fear for which the insurance was taken, if that does come true, one, does the customer remember that he or she has that insurance? That's one. And second, do you have data supporting it in terms of how the claim behavior on such products is? I'll come to my later point, but just for me to understand.
Yeah,
this.
so one of the important aspect of embedded insurance is you need to understand how the product discovery happens, right? It is not a conventional insurance which is sold by a broker or an assisted channel, right? So you have bought it online, looking at something as a collateral, and you make a decision, which is also very quick because it's a checkbox insurance and you're buying it. Now, for you to cater or for us to give you an embedded insurance, the flow of that needs to be very seamless, simple, and straightforward. That means, and insurance is something you can only experience when there is a claim.
Correct.
It's not like a gadget where you can look and feel and you can test it, right?
Yeah, you're not just using
the moment of truth is claims. So whenever we have an embedded insurance product, we ensure that we have baked in the claims being seamless. So when a person buys it, the person knows that, okay, I now bought a bus ticket, for example, and I bought a refund cancellation policy with the bus ticket. So if for any reason, if he cannot make it, then he will come to the platform. There would be clearly instructions on where he can initiate the claims. You click on it, and most of the times it's parametric by nature. You just tell them that we are not able to take it, and the money is refunded to the wallet or
so
the
if you just cancel that thing, you don't have to do anything after that. It just parametrically gets paid back to you.
Yeah. Exactly, with a flight delay or something or anything. Like the beauty of embedded insurance, you need to come up with journeys which are more parametric by nature, which reduces.
So then context is super important. So that was my second point.
One is definitely, see, again, COVID plus COVID insurance on Flipkart is not contextual, right? There are other, I've seen, without naming, cancer care program to be distributed in OT in Southeast Asia, not contextual. That doesn't sell. Like, again, you have to look at that environment you operated at that point of time. But the product needs to be contextual to the primary business. Perfect. And then only people will buy that. Yeah, people can relate to it.
That's what I trust. I completely agree with that.
And then your claims should be as seamless, because again, if we mess up in a claims journey with CheQ, people actually will go to social media and say things about you, not so much about us, because again, there is a brand affinity towards it. That's where the embedded insurance is doing well, because of the affinity you get to the brand.
So, I'll add a flavor to it, correct? What he mentioned is like like point right on the point.
Yeah,
To
completely.
me, context is so important. So
Very.
like what we do at CheQ, because we're a credit management platform, and even if we have, let's say, fantastic users, okay, which a lot of industries want to cater to, okay, but if we can't build context, we don't partner. So for example,
Because it wouldn't make any sense. I mean, that's what context is, right?
it from an advertising point of view, it might make sense for them because for them they're leads and stuff like that.
Right,
For them,
right.
it makes sense. But I think if I may say so, correct, that in India, insurance awareness, some players took this non-contextual route to just dump in insurances so that to make the numbers happen. And consumers did not even know that they were doing something.
Right.
And to me, like that is where I'm always, so for us, like if I ask you, what is the first word that comes in your mind when I say insurance?
To me,
Yeah.
protection.
Protection, correct?
Yeah, protection.
Care,
Care, trust.
trust.
Right.
That if something goes wrong, there is somebody there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, that experience, that somebody's there for something that goes wrong, that messaging needs to land. And that, to what Arijit said, should and can only land with context. So what we just, interestingly, what we're just launching on CheQ in 3 weeks from now is if a consumer is coming to make and come and pay their credit card bills on our platforms or loan EMIs, they can add an insurance product which covers for any cyber fraud that happens on the card that they're paying. Okay. So very strong context. The customer is in the mode of credit thinking.
Yep.
You're trying to add a nuance to that and saying that frauds happen. And I'm going to be, if you want me to cover you for, let's say, X $1,000, just add to the product. And to me, that context setting is so important. And then I am not dumping. And because for me, that care is only coming from for a person who I trust. So if the fraud happens and if the customer does not even know
Right.
that I have an insurance, then I'm not doing a good job.
No.
Like for us, and that's the way we want to solve for insurance in terms of how we want to move forward.
Can we back up a little bit, if you don't mind?
Sure.
What is the context for CheQ itself before the insurance discussion?
Got it. So,
Because that's really interesting to me as well. Because first you have to get in, because you're getting back into this process you were talking about.
yeah.
And then can you try to remember this too? I'm super curious. I want to know what the context of CheQ is so people can understand. And then I want to know how you get somebody from M to L.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So just at a very macro level,
Yeah.
India, just think about breaking a consumer between a consumer who does not have access to credit or
Right.
a customer who has access to credit. There are fantastic FinTechs who are trying to bring consumers into the fold of credit. We are not that. Okay. Our journey with the consumer starts once he or she comes into the fold of credit.
Got it.
Okay. Because we believe there are a lot of action happening to bring consumers into the fold of
That's right.
credit.
So you're not doing that. You're not bringing them in. You're
No.
servicing them once
But
they get there.
Then nobody takes care of them as to how to live that life of credit.
Right.
Okay. So what we're trying to build is we're trying to build one common house where you can do all things credit.
Got it.
It's a statement said easily, but to me, to bring that vision to life will take the next 7-8 years.
At least.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we want is, let's say by 2030, whenever you think of credit in India, you should remember CheQ.
CheQ.
Okay. We should be part of your consideration set. Whether we win that consideration battle is the second point. So from whether you want to take new credit, whether you want to repay your credit, whether you want to close your credit, or whether you want to know, hey, the repo rates came down, what's happening on my home loan?
Right.
Okay. Or what is this new credit product that has got launched by the regulator? I do not know the difference between that and the loan that I have. Or I have an issue with my bureau report. Where do I go? Because there are 4 bureaus in
So
India.
the bureau report is what? The credit,
The credit bureau report.
the quality of your credit stance.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
So why should they go to 4 different places? They should be able to come to CheQ. So what we started with today is there are 3 pieces that we started. One, we started allowing started with where consumers can come and pay their credit card bill. There is a beautiful dashboard. As soon as you log in, we do some magic at the back end and give you your personal dashboard where all your credit cards and loan EMIs and bills come at one place. So you're not looking at 5 different.
So I was going to ask you, why would somebody pay their credit card through CheQ? But the idea is that all of my credit goes through CheQ, and then I can see where everything stands in one place.
Absolutely.
Got it. Now I understand.
So that's part of the management play.
I like it.
Okay. And then we convert your bureau report, the credit bureau report, into what we call as a dumbed down version for everybody to understand.
Right. So I just be like, I'm okay. I'm not okay.
Yeah. And what's going wrong, what's not going wrong. So that's the second part. And now we've started the leverage. We started touching. So we are allowing consumers who we believe have very good credit scores, are behaving really well, are able to manage their credit really well. On what we see, we're allowing them to now leverage more credit by giving them access to more credit products. We're launching some crazy new products. Launched a couple of them. We're now launching more. So everything we've touched each part at some levels. Very, very long journey ahead. But it's been 18 months. We've got very interesting traction. Consumers, yesterday at my office when I was here, the office celebrated 2 million consumers. There was a 2 million consumer party. We just, as I said, we're just getting started, but good start for us.
Can I ask you this?
Sure.
We're just talking about context, right? Two things, really. What are some of the common challenges that consumers face in the credit market? And then where does this piece fit in?
Okay. Some of the challenges of both the industries are common.
I would presume so.
Okay. One is awareness.
Yeah.
Second is penetration.
Right.
Okay. Both industries suffer from lack of awareness and a lot of, for lack of better words, misguided sales. That has happened in, let's say, decades before, which has had a very, very lasting impression into the economy. So penetration is a massive, massive issue, which has got, even more aggravated by that.
Really?
So technology is trying to solve for penetration by entering into places and pin codes which standard offline distribution could not reach. Because of lack of education around that product, I think both industries suffer. So I think that's just one part of it. The other aspect is both industries are very, very heavily regulated, and for absolutely the right reasons.
Yeah, for sure.
Put it that way, correct?
Yeah, because if there's negative sales taking place, the regulators need to stand in every country in the world to make sure that doesn't happen, right?
Like one of the classic examples is that post-COVID, most countries were hit by decreasing GDP. Either countries acknowledge whether they were in depression or not is a second story.
Right.
But the fact that India came significantly clean and actually now moving towards even faster progress is because we had fantastic regulators.
Yeah. I find the regulators in India, both in the fintech space and in the insurance space, to be really forward-thinking.
They are.
Yeah, I really do. Spent a lot of time talking to people about it, but yeah.
And I think one of the things that both the regulators have done is about, one, they don't come from the thought process that we are only right.
Right.
Okay. Second, they have now built platforms where interactions with players like us who are not even registered entities or will want to become, they've been given platforms to hear us.
Right.
Whatever ideas that we have, they would want to know. And then they synthesize the logic in terms of what takes to build countries. Okay. And that's how we do it. And I think that's just beautiful. Like we all talk about the UPI story.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to ask about it. Yeah.
Which is now sort of a global feather.
But what an incredible initiative, right?
Absolutely.
Because I was going to ask how that changed stuff, but go ahead. You've already brought it up.
Initiation was taken by a gentleman who was a corporate guy, and he talked about the concept of it to the government, and that got driven, correct? So that's just beautiful.
Right.
A great example of how the regulator actually, if they listen and if they're able to interact, I think that becomes a strong point. having said that, it doesn't mean that it's very easy to do business.
Fair enough.
You the process, like I know in the insurance world, it's becoming better, but it was extremely tight in terms of just even creating new insurance policies as a structure. Even in today in the world of financing, the regulator makes sure that the consumer interest is just at the top. Everything else can suffer. Consumer interest cannot.
Keep this thought, but I want to ask you, is there a case to be made that the success of UPI, right, the idea that it came from outside the regulatory environment, but that it was somebody else's idea and then built and it turned into this incredible thing, that it's maybe changed the way even the insurance regulators thought about getting feedback and then allowing new products, which will then help the penetration and the knowledge and the awareness of this?
No, absolutely. So giving a few more data points.
Please.
Right? So the Indian government initiative is by 2040, all Indians should be insured. That means you're talking about 1.4 billion population.
Wow.
2040.
2040.
It's not that far away.
Yeah, that's not far away.
Well, our current penetration will be what, 3-4%?
And the current penetration is about, life is about 3%, non-life is about 7%.
3% of what?
Of Indian population.
The Indian population.
Right. Okay.
So
there's a lot of work to do.
So it's a lot of work, and what's happening there is the thing about this with the whole digital economy which India has gone into. Now
Right.
the smallest to smallest vegetable vendors who are using a cart to sell vegetables also
Right.
have a Paytm QR code, for
Right.
example.
Yeah.
Okay. Now
Which sits on the UPI rails, right?
which sits on the UPI,
Right.
right? So that's, and because of the digital economy, what has happened is, imagine this gives opportunity of insurance, that I can now go to a tier 3 city in India who has a small mobile repair shop and sell a gadget insurance
Right.
by scanning the QR code and embedding a gadget insurance with that, or a phone screen protection. That is unthinkable, right? In 3-4 years back. Right, so you have access to insurance in a much granular way in places where it cannot be imagined there. So whether you are a small travel agent sitting in a village, or you are a small repair shop, or you run a small rural bank, or MFI or NBFCs doing micro lending, you can attach insurance, which is again a product which is contextual to their core business, and reach these customers which were not available before.
So if by, what do you say, 2040?
2040, that's
the
I'll
target.
come back, but that's what I
Sure.
What
But it's a
read.
target. I get
Yeah.
it. It's probably not going to happen. But even if it gets close or makes progress, it's kind of an out of left field question. But like, is the underwriting capacity, does it exist to be able to handle that?
So again, there has been, the regulators have been very open on a bit of ease in the regulations. There are a lot of concepts which have come, like if you have heard of Gift City in Ahmedabad, which is an alternate channel they have come up with. It's kind of, I won't compare with like Labuan in Malaysia because it's very different sort of demographics and capital investments you need to do. But they have come up with an alternate regulatory for foreign players to come in, so you can
Framework,
actually
right.
float insurance and reinsurance company and fund management and banks and asset management, which is parked in US dollars, and you can work with India. So concepts like that, and you have 9 years of tax rebate.
So they're really trying to encourage people to come
Right.
in and do this, so that some of the capacity comes from outside of the country.
Right. As we speak, there are 26 underwriting applications pending with the regulator for new insurance companies. They have increased the FDI of foreign insurers coming into insurance. I think it's about 75% now, but eventually the talks are it can be 100%.
Okay.
Right? So there's a lot of measures have been done to make, again, insurance accessible for consumers. Government has come up with initiatives where there's a compulsory health and life insurance policy.
Compulsory.
So it's getting there, and it's all taking steps. It will take time because India is a large, diverse economy, but it's all steps are getting taken to address the insurance gap.
We were talking about context before. In the context of this and of CheQ, where does insurance fit in that value chain so that it's not getting dumped, as you said,
Yeah.
but it's in places where people actually need it to help address the management of the credit that they're taking. And that's going to be expanding pretty quickly as well, right?
It is. So that three aspects or three sort of, how do I call it? Three hot zones where I believe insurance will play a critical part in what we're trying to do. The first one is what I just talked about, that when we're launching. So we're trying to make sure that if there is a fraud that happens with you on your credit product or on any of your payment product, we're trying to cover you. That's the first aspect of it. Okay. And there are if you move to what happens with your credit instrument to what happens to your repayment. Okay.
Right.
So think about the fact that you have a home loan. Okay. Now there are two aspects of insurance there. One is, and if you default on your home loan EMIs, the impact on your bureau score is one of the highest.
It's going to be huge.
Okay.
Right.
And also the penalty. Okay. So we want to build for all of your credit products in the future an insurance cover where we make sure that you should never falter. Okay. So that's true management for you. So CheQ wants to make sure that till the time, let's say Arijit is a customer, may what happen, we will not let you default.
Right.
So it is not a product for everyone. It is a product for consumers who we believe are actually managing their health well.
Right.
But then I'm coming and giving him the word that you call about care, safety, that Arijit, you don't have to worry.
Right. If
you're on CheQ, that is covered. Okay. So that's the second aspect of insurance. Third is for insurance like home loan, for loans like home loans and car loans, while there are insurance products which have got embedded while they are selling the home loan, which is if something happens to me as a what burden will go to my family.
Right.
That penetration today is still very, very low.
Okay.
And for a lot of loans that have got disbursed earlier, that cover doesn't happen naturally.
Right.
But now, because I already know that Arijit has a loan product, has a home loan, which does not have the cover, can I now introduce that insurance cover for Arijit so that, again, context is important, right? Because I know, because he is coming on the platform with that context. So there are three layers of what we want to do, correct? What happens with your instruments as trying to make sure insurance plays a role. Second, your good behavior should not, you should not be penalized for good behavior.
Right.
Because of technology issues which you can't control. So CheQ wants to be the aid there.
Right.
And third, fundamentally long-term loans which can result into liabilities for the family, CheQ should be there to try and solve for that. So these are the three steps or three stages that we look at where insurance will play a critical role.
Will CheQ be in the business of issuing its own credit cards, making its own home loans, and actually turning into almost like a full stack FinTech company?
So think about us as,
because the reason why I'm asking is I'm thinking about somebody who already has a credit card, has a home loan, and doesn't use CheQ. But I just want to move all that stuff there because I'm tired of using a spreadsheet at home. I'm tired of trying to consolidate like this piece of software with that piece of software that I already use. How would I get all my stuff on? Because you wouldn't know that I have a home loan unless it sits on your platform.
So the technology exists. So you don't have to do too many things for us.
Yeah, I'm asking.
For us to create a dashboard for you.
Okay.
So once the consumer comes on our platform, we request for an access to the credit report.
For sure.
So we then synthesize that and bring it to your fore into the most dumbest manner so that it's just very easy to consume, correct?
Right.
To the point that what you mentioned, that would we do would we partner and build a credit card of which will be CheQ branded credit card product? That might happen. But I think it will be very premature for me to say today that would we do home loans tomorrow, because home loans are a 20-year relationship.
Sure.
15-year relationship. And to build that trust with consumers
It's going to take time.
is going to take time, and
sure.
and we respect that. And to me, there are no shortcuts in this.
No,
This is grinding.
No.
This is what I typically call that. This is a marathon at a rate of a sprint.
Right. So I like to say my grandfather once told me that it takes a lifetime to build a reputation
And a second.
and a moment to lose it.
Yeah.
So that's what you're fighting against, right? Yeah.
But the beauty of your model is, again, thinking through why you are describing your business, is what you mentioned about that credit. You're sitting on a lot of data.
Yeah.
Right. So when you are leveraging data, you know that you can also give them a credit protection. For example, if there is unfortunate event of death, disability, critical illness, or maybe retrenchment, right? So for a few months, the credit can be taken care of. That's where insurance can come in.
Yes.
And which also not giving your customers sort of the peace of mind, but giving you sort of alternate revenue stream. At the end, it's a different value prop which you are bringing to the consumer, right? On top of the services they are willing. The other thing is, it's like enhancing their lifestyle. Like imagine you have so many data in terms of what they're spending on, what is their credit score. We can come up with sum assured life insurance or a health insurance, which is already packaged and sort of customized for your consumer segment, right? Because you already know with the data that whether they're paying or not, and whether they have, then you come up with, okay, with your spending or your lifestyle, you should be getting a 5 CR, for example, a pre-underwritten sum assured life insurance. So in one click, you can buy that. So if you can come up with products like this, then it's again an embedded seamless journey, which again adds on to your platform and again gives them alternate product offerings.
I just always ask this question as to what is my right to win there? Why should the consumer buy a life insurance from my platform? Because for me, if he's coming on the platform and if I show him anything that he's not even interested, he did not even have intent, then there is a potential loss of a consumer.
Yeah. So it depends on,
like, to me, that story, once we get this answer, then everything is on.
So I'll tell you, and it's a very apt question, right? I'll tell you the difference is, again, depends on where is the product discovery. If you are popping up someone to buy life insurance while the person is going through your journey, then it's not going to work. You have to engage the customer in a different way, where the customer is already with you for, suppose, a few years, you're having the data and everything. Suppose you're sending them an emailer based on your sort of your credit score and based on all the transactions you have done. This is a customizable sum assured insurance package for you, only for you. Okay. Then you engage the customer for that. Don't engage it while the person is going through a journey, right? Because life insurance is a high ticket premium. The person would also like to do a comparison of the premium with other things, right? So you have to give the person to think through that rather than being a impulsive buyer to buy a life insurance. That shouldn't be the journey. So embedded doesn't always mean it is impulsive one-click buy. It is also engaging the customers to see what the value add they can get from your platform.
Got it.
Is there a data context, and maybe you can answer this as well, is there a data context where if someone is taking, now they're leveraging credit, right? I wanted to get something more expensive. Maybe I understand how to make monthly payments, where now you have the data that says that thing has value. Maybe that should be insured, right? And that's a place where even in just a regular purchase journey, you may be able to embed insurance for that product. And your customers will think like, yeah, that's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
Right? In that sense. So that's not in the way, but yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, that I agree. I mean, we do a lot of with FinTech, payment gateways, BNPL players. I think CheQ's platform, we have to work through the journey, but the issue would be you won't know exactly what SKU or the item the person would have bought.
From where they have bought, you might know, but what?
Yeah, the merchant code you will have, not the actual item. But with the merchant code, you would be able to sometimes know that this might be a travel ticket or this might be a gadget thing. So it's again the second degree of that, but which is very clear if you're on an e-commerce or a BNPL or a payment gateway,
Right.
you can actually know what you have bought.
Right, because you're at the point of sale.
Yeah.
So, Arijit, correct me, for the general insurance premium collection in India will be worth $30 billion plus minus 10%.
Mm-hmm.
Broadly correct.
Yeah.
That's the scale. The penalty on credit cards and loans in India yearly is nearly $4 billion.
The penalty meaning I paid my bill late, so I have to pay.
Either just the penalty. It's just crazy. Now there are three layers of people, sort of why they end up getting penalized.
Right.
Okay. One thing just happened with me just last month. Okay. I had a credit card bill, just let's say take 76,000 rupees. Okay. And some change. Okay. And I paid 76,000 and some change, but the some change was still not the full change.
So you missed a little bit of the change.
Just missed a little bit. I got an interest charge on all of the 76,000. Okay. I am just saying, this one of the leading banks of the country just did that.
But just imagine this situation. I know you're probably thinking this too, but like you're in this business.
Correct.
So the possibility of you making a mistake is the delta on that's so low. But for just like a regular person, they may not even know that.
But then you can call and waive that off. Right?
That's then you're moving into a zone of where you feel you are not in control.
Yeah, agree.
Like a consumer who has access to credit or who takes insurance, so broadly is a consumer who is educated, who is working, and has a certain lifestyle. Okay, like if you put just that, is what that customer hates is being out of control. Okay, how do you solve for that control? How do you go and fundamentally attack that 4 billion opportunity via insurance is what I think every day. That when you did an honest mistake,
you're
you
covered.
know, if CheQ would have been there, you would have not been penalized. And if and now I got charged 3% of that. Okay. If CheQ would have said, you know what, I won't let that happen, dude. But whatever is a penalty that you messed up, okay, CheQ took care of it and did not let that penalty. I'll charge you 5% of it, of what I saved for you. Just that basic industry, just that by that math of 4 billion into 5%, $200 million. It's just that crazy. And then the context is beautiful of how you ensure that. While we have to think about the product we build, correct? It's in our mind how we go to the regulator and build it. But it's such strong context. And it's just a growing player, because in India, credit penetration is growing width and depth wise both. More people have credit now and more consumers have multiple credit products.
This would be a very interesting sort of insurance solution to it. I mean, sometimes you can appreciate you need to eliminate good faith versus bad behavior, right? In that. But one of the ways of control, and if this can solve it, solves, like for me, I shuttle between Singapore and Dubai. I know every 3 months I'm spending half an hour with one of my credit card banks on some charges.
Yeah.
I'm not in India, I'm talking about these nations as well, right?
Right.
So it happens, right? One way of solving it, you do a gyro or a standing instruction. But then again, you can be charged on things which are unauthorized.
Absolutely.
You'll be charged annual fee, you want to waive it off. And so those things always keep on. So I can give my personal example. I literally spend at least half an hour every 2 or 3 months with a bank.
And,
right?
and your cards are India cards or Singapore cards?
I have India, Dubai, Singapore, all three.
Okay.
Right? So
we should talk at least for India. Nothing should happen. You should go to CheQ. At least that we should be able to solve.
I like it. Okay, boys. I think we've gone through a lot. I think we could keep going, but maybe we do episode 2 later. This was a really great conversation. Aditya, Soni, the founder and CEO of CheQ. I've learned a ton. Arijit, Chakraborty, SVP at Chubb, Global Digital Team. You guys were right. All that experience and all that knowledge, I learned a ton today. I really appreciate it. Thank you both so much for doing this.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Michael, for having us.